Two Queers in a Truck. And I'm Billy James Gunn, and my sidekick, Christian Cano, partner with Gunn, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jim's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon. Good morning, everybody. It is Two Queers in a Truck time, live from Hollywood. If you guys don't know, or if this is the first time you're tuning in, I used to live in Charlotte, North Carolina, like many of us do these shows, and actually none of us live in Charlotte anymore.
That's right.
Pretty much. We all left, pretty much, and I now live with my wife in West Hollywood, California, in the Hollywood Hills, actually. I look down towards the city, which I don't look down on my city, but in Los Angeles area, I shouldn't say it that way. We love it out here, but it is sunny California all the time, and pretty nice weather. It's one of those things that, of course, we live, in the foothills, so it's a little cooler here rather than in the valley. For people who don't know, LA's got quite a few mountains, and it kind of cascades over several mountain chains and that sort of thing, because it's such a big geographically sized city, so it goes on for miles in every direction. And we sit up on the Hollywood Hills. In fact, we're not but a few miles from the world famous Hollywood sign and the Griffith Observatory and all that. It's literally in our backyard. From certain angles, we can actually see the Hollywood sign when we get out on the street level. So we are within a stone's throw of the Sunset Strip and all that. I guess the only reason I'm talking about that, today is my birthday. So if you are
happy birthday! I was waiting for that. I was
waiting. And I'm hemmed and I'm hawed because I don't like talking about my birthday that much. But
35.
35.
Is that what you're going with? Okay.
Yeah, 35. Because 29 definitely doesn't seem believable, considering considerably younger than me. And so it's one of those things that nobody's going to believe that anymore, because then she would be a teenager. Because nobody can look at us and think that we're the same age. But anyway, 35 again, plus, and but it's the year's gone by fast, and this 2025, this birthday kind of snuck up on me in a certain way. Because it's the first one I've celebrated in California, and it feels weird. It's something that we're still getting used to it. There's at times where we feel like we've lived here for a long time, and there's other times where we are new arrivals. Like, there's that yin and that yang, and there's moments where we're looking for something or we're needing something, and we have to look for it because we're not as familiar with LA as people who have lived here for years or decades. And then there's other things that we're like, we've done that, 10 days in a row, and it's old hat. You start to forget the before times, and we've spent more time in LA than we did in Charlotte this year, and so we're past that tipping point, because LA since April 30th, and so it feels weird to even say that. And we've been in West Hollywood. This is the beginning of the fourth month. We're actually halfway through that fourth month, and so it's been a while, but it's nice. It's a nice break from living in the American South. The last two states I lived in was Texas and North Carolina, and so it's way different, and it didn't take any adjusting because where I live is decidedly queer. And for all of y'all that maybe don't watch the show and you just listen to it, I'm a very queer person. If you go to our social media, you will see that. And if you're tuning into a show called Two Queers in a Truck, it shouldn't be a shocker. There shouldn't be a clutching pearls moment. But just in case, you weren't keeping score at home, surprise, I'm a homosexual, and so is my wife. And oh, your sound went out.
Am I?
Now you're kind of blipping it out. So I don't know if it's your end. Okay. But it's a very, very bizarre. And I am surprised when I see comments on social media about my queerness. And I'm like, yeah, it's two queers in a truck, guys. Like, I mean, that's just it's if you tune in, it'd be like tuning into the Coffee and Padulce show and wondering why we talk about so many Latinx and Hispanic issues. And I'm like, it's like the name, guys. It's a Spanish name, especially the Pandulce part. I guess because the coffee part is also an English word that they fucking throws them off. But then again, we're talking about people that actually believe a pedophile over women and girls. So here we go. We're in that part of the history. I'm going to jump into the first topic because I've spent the whole first section talking about myself, which is unusual. It's funny how conservatives don't believe in socialism unless they want it. And it's funny how they step up to the trough. And one of the growing trends, and people are starting to notice it this year more and more, because there's a funny little surcharge on a lot of people's electric bill in certain states. And residents in certain states are subsidizing the energy needs and the water needs for AI plants. And these AI plants pull a tremendous amount of electricity, the computing power, and the reason for the water is to keep the supercomputers cool. And so they're water cooled. But they also use a tremendous amount of energy, and people are seeing little surcharges and wondering what that is. Across the nation, the energy costs have gone up over 6%. And we're an energy producing nation. Like, we make the materials to produce energy, but energy is still going up in this country. In fact, it's double the inflation rate currently. And one of the reasons is these new AI plants are going in left and right, and especially they're going into red states where they don't expect any pushback. And there is one in Georgia that is draining water so much that people are actually having to buy gallons of water to even bathe, cook, to have any water because they have no water pressure because these energy plants are just dominating. And and in a place like Texas, there's parts of Texas where the same thing is happening. And Texas is already famous for struggling with their energy issues. So you can just imagine between the drought-stricken state of Texas plus the energy issues that they already currently have and not being on the national grid and so on and so forth, and then put these AI plants in there, it has put a tremendous strain on the state of Texas. And it's conservatives, and conservatives own these companies that are doing it to mostly conservative states, mostly red states. The blue states are too tightly regulated to get away with this. So we're in a very wild west part of the deal where they haven't publicly announced this, and they haven't, or if they had, they whispered it. They made sure it was amongst the many crazy news that we're seeing in this fascist state of America with 3Ks, and we definitely have to sit back and laugh because, like with many of these things, these high impact issues like energy bills going up, for example, 6% is a lot if you're already paying a lot for energy, which energy is very expensive in Texas. Very expensive. And considering that it's one of the top energy producing states in the United States, tells you how bad their policies in the Republican controlled state of Texas, that's been controlled by Republicans for 30 years now. Ever since George W. Bush was governor in the mid 90s, it has been under Republican rule. And they've messed up their energy policy, their energy deals. They're famous for killing people with energy outages. An ice storm a few years ago when Ted Cruz went to Cancun, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. But these AI data centers, when you create your cool AI images and emojis and all that, it's draining energy from somewhere to create that much computing power. It's way more than just watching a video or scrolling Instagram or Facebook or something like that. It is talking about creating something out of nothing, and the computing power that takes that has to come from somewhere, and it's not coming from your phone. Your phone has not even a fraction of that capability. And so for it to seem seamless and happen in a matter of seconds, there has to be a supercomputer on some end of this that does that. And so every time that you fool around with something and make a picture or something like that, you are probably shutting somebody's lights off. I'm just kidding. Well, you may be, especially if you're in Texas or Georgia. In those two failed states, those two takers is what I like to call taker states, because they take more federal dollars and sweet socialism than they put in. Anyway, we're up against our first break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck after these messages. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, boo. Happy. And we are back. And speaking of drain, and especially speaking of cash drain, one of the big problems with Trump and his family, and especially his two idiot sons, is they're making a tremendous amount of money off this presidency. And why is this important? Because it really shapes their policies. It shapes their policies that they're going to sign on to bills and laws that favor their companies. For example, a lot of people don't realize this, but Eric and Trump Jr., the cokehead, are heavily invested into and own a company called World Liberty Firm, and it is a large crypto firm that is worth billions of dollars. In fact, they've gained $5 billion in cash just this year in 2025, and it's one of the motivating factors behind the policy of Trump signing the Genius Act, which is a pro-crypto act, a federal act that actually more or less made it a lot easier for the crypto industry to flourish. And it's a very pro-crypto legislation. And it's one of the reasons last year and this year that the Trump family so heavily invested these Truth Social money into the crypto markets, and was a huge stakeholder in Bitcoin the last couple of years, and so on and so forth. So they've made a lot of stakes in the crypto market. They got a lot of skin in the game, and quite frankly, it's obviously a conflict of interest, but nobody cares about that because they don't care what the Trump family does. Trump family could be burning the fucking country down, and they could be burning down Texas, and Texas would thank them at this point. And I don't even want to live under the illusion that solidly red states like Texas are ever going to get their heads out of their collective asses. And I'm at a point, and it's one of the motivating factors why my wife and I relocated to California, is that we realized North Carolina, where we were living, was never going to get it. That was never going to get better for people like us. And it was going to increasingly get worse. And because of that, and because of us being two visibly queer women, and there's at some point where do you keep staying, getting the beat down after beat down after beat down, and go through the bullshit, or do you say exit stage left and reboot? And there was a lot of other motivating factors to come to California. One, the weather is fucking incredible where we live. There's a lot of other benefits, and we live in a very decidedly queer part of Southern California in West Hollywood. So there's a lot of huge advantages. It's beautiful here. It's absolutely gorgeous. But the other is that we don't have to put up with the shit that you put up with in a more conservative state. And even though Charlotte was a very progressive city in a very red state, it still soaks in the conservatism around there. Even the so-called progressives are more like liberals, and even those liberals don't support people like us, and especially trans women. They pull the rug out from under us all the time. And especially the people that are the allies. I've seen it time and time again where trans causes don't get supported the way they should. And I see it in many organizations in Charlotte, and I see many problems in Charlotte that isolate trans women. And it's not the only place. I saw it in Texas too. But these predominantly conservative places where the overriding factor is that underbelly of conservatism and religiosity that we see in Texas politics and North Carolina politics that we don't see in California. That it's one of the reasons the state's very successful too. Its progressive politics is allowed progress to happen. And we're not perfect. We are a work in progress like any part of the United States is. But I'll tell you what, it's a hell of a lot nicer here than it is in North Carolina, and 1,000 times nicer than any part of Texas. Texas is a flaming dumpster fire, and it's getting worse. I see people moving out all the time. But the crypto scam of the Trumpers is a story that's not going to be talked about in the mainstream press. Nobody in the mainstream press is going to talk about this. Nobody's going to do an investigation on how these guys all of a sudden, in a matter of months, have got $5 billion in cash on hand. They're just going to say it's part of the spoils of war. Now, if Joe Biden's son had done the same fucking thing, and Joe Biden had signed in a crypto act to allow crypto to be easier to facilitate, we would hear, if Hunter Biden did a fraction of what Eric and Dum Dum Jr. did, we'd have gnashing of the teeth, and it'd be the signs of the apocalypse, and they're the four horsemen and the Antichrist, and Hunter's a piece of shit, and Joe Biden's a piece of shit. Fuck, Joe Biden posters would be going up again. And exactly. And you would never, ever hear the end of this. You would never, ever hear the end of this. It would be chaos, and there'd be a congressional investigation. If Joe Biden made $1 off the presidency, they would fucking send missiles. Like they would just go ballistic. Holy Mike and the holy rollers of the Congress would be flipping around. But Trump and his idiot sons are making billions upon millions of dollars off these crypto companies, and there's literally not a word. There's not a flipping word about it. There is no investigation. There's no oversight. There is not a fucking thing being said about it in Congress, in the media. Everybody is insanely quiet about it. Now, we could be too busy talking about, Trump's pedophile past and probably present. That is kind of the topic of the day. We'll talk about that on a different episode. But I find it interesting. One other interesting thing is just in the past few days, Trump has said that domestic violence shouldn't be illegal. And that he went on one of his crazy, narcoleptic, narcissistic pumpkin head rants, and he was probably, cranking out the fart machine and was, choking on his own vapors when he said this. But he basically, like he normally does, is minimizes domestic violence against women, and that women basically shouldn't be able to. They should be able to press charges on their husband. More or less indicated that women are, should be subservient and property, which is, a very evangelical stance. Like we had the debate for the longest in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is marital sexual assault really sexual assault? And do women have the right to say no to their husbands? Are they being disloyal? Are women second-class citizens? And why this is important is because our society has basically said trans women are second-class citizens. And when you treat any part of your society as second-class citizens or property, i.e. slavery, things of that nature, sooner or later it's going to turn to a larger portion of the population again. Roe versus Wade being overturned, women being treated bad, women being harassed more, violence against women has gone up in 2025. Things are changing in this country for the worse, and one of them is how we treat women or feminine identities. And then ultimately that's going to affect gay people, it's going to affect trans people, it's going to affect cis women, straight women, it's going to affect anybody that's butch presenting, that's a tall woman that looks like a man going into a bathroom. Harassment in bathrooms is higher than it's ever been. And it's against women, cis women, not trans women. Is that many of us, they know we're trans and they leave us alone. And they're picking on the more vulnerable women, which is the smaller cis women, the more slightly built. And they're using it as an excuse to harass women. And I told you guys so. I said this several years ago when y'all abandoned the trans community, notably when you abandoned the trans community, this was going to bite you in the ass. And it has. And now it's a notable change in our society, a notable shift in our society. And we'll get more into that later on. But we'll be right back with after these messages with some more Two Queers in This Truck.
Hi everybody, this is Yorense from the Americo show over here. All I'm here is doing a little quick PSA. Use this summer to do volunteer work. Go to your nearest YMCA, go to your nearest homeless shelter, go to whatever community services or programs that you can help out and volunteer. Because right now, we have a bunch of fascist pieces of shit trying to rip apart our country and rip apart the people, our communities by spreading hate and bigotry. The best way to combat it is, one, working in your community and standing strong to show that you are strong and you're here to help out others. Two, combat misinformation. If you hear bullshit, first research and make sure if it's true or not. If it is not true, call it out. If it is true, get the facts. Be knowledgeable of it because it might come out later. So always stand against that. And three, fuck fascists. Stand against them. Make them feel uncomfortable. There is too many people out there feeling like they can say the hard R or say slurs or be violent. Make them understand that a lot of people die to make sure this hatred and bigotry does not exist. All our civil rights workers, all the people who stormed Normandy, everybody who fought against intolerance and hatred, they died and worked their asses off to stop this. So follow in their footsteps and stop this madness. This is Yorense again from Americo, and all I can say is be there for your community and stand up for what's right. Fuck fascism and have a wonderful day.
Hey y'all, this is Jetty with Two Queers in a Truck and Christian's along with me. and we're just having fun, and we're looking forward to the 2025 season, and super excited. We have some neat things going on in our whole family of shows, including Coffee and Pan Dulce, and many new shows that are brewing. Get it, and we are excited for 2025 and all the chicanery and other things that comes with it. So happy New Year, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Bye, boo. And we are back. But one of the more noticeable things is how marriage equality is crumbling. That if the SCOTUS rules against marriage equality, which everybody expects them to, and they invalidate the very shoddy federal law that we passed just a few years ago under Biden, that was just here we're doing something for the queers. we as a party, we're abandoning all trans people, and we're not going to defend them unless you get defended in a blue state. But we're going to put this together as a token of our appreciation for playing along in 2020 and helping Biden get elected. And they basically shut up the gay men that they wanted marriage equality protected. But if SCOTUS rules against it and it gets overturned, which it probably will, 60% of the country is probably going to see marriage equality end. Because there's 31 red states, and there's only 19 decidedly blue states that could stop this. And including, 2 states that I just lived in, which is Texas and North Carolina. We're going to see marriage equality end in those states. Now, what does that mean? We don't know. And I think it's the first step before we start seeing interracial marriages dissolve, before we start seeing very prejudicial rulings from the SCOTUS when it comes to social issues. They've already decidedly ruled against the trans community over and over and over again. So I expect no different on marriage equality. In fact, I expect them to completely rule against it this year. In that case, from that crazy lady from Kentucky that denied that marriage certificate to that gay couple so many years ago. She's made it her life's work to end marriage equality because she's an unattractive 3 times divorced troglodyte, and she is pissed off that whatever made her look like a wart on somebody's ass. And I guess she's just angry, and instead of working on herself or developing some sort of personality, and this is what I don't understand about bigotry. How does it affect her? Because obviously she doesn't think marriage certificates are going to run out because gay people get married. Because she's been married 3 or 4 times. So she knows it can print more. And the sanctity of marriage, I don't know if you've been married and divorced 3 times, do you really think the marriage is that sanctimonious? Like, I mean, let's get down to the brass tacks. It is like the person in the glass house throwing the first stone kind of a thing. And their dear leader, old Pumpkinhead himself, he's on his 3rd marriage, and he's cheated like crazy on his current wife. He was banging Stormy Daniels when old Horseface, whenever Melania was pregnant with Barron, their youngest. And he was visiting Epstein Island at that same time too. So let's not talk about the sanctity of marriage versus you look at the Obamas that have been married forever, the Bidens have been married forever, the Clintons, and Bill Clinton hasn't been no angel himself. Like, I mean, the Epstein survivors named him too. And yeah, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about Democrats that visited Epstein Island too. I promised everybody that listens to the show, I would. Bill Clinton's got a lot to answer for as well. I noticed he's gotten visibly quiet. I would too. And yeah, old Broham himself, Slick Willie, and Trump both were frequent attendees of Epstein Island. And the ladies that are now the grown women that are the survivors, the victims of that, are pointing out people that that were there. And there's so many other receipts coming up. There's some other things that are going and coming up. But I want to spend the last section. This is the sixth section of the show. We do 6 sections every episode, more or less. Sometimes I lose track, so I'm not 100% sure if we do 6 every time. Because we get to conversating. This is a conversation. Pretty much the voices in my head and myself and Christian, but we there's, at least I'm not trying to bite my ear anymore. Is what should be free in society. And I thought about this week for a couple reasons, but one of them was using some services here in the greater LA area that didn't cost anything. And it came to my mind as we were going through the facility, and I was thinking about it. I've thought about it a lot here lately, now that a lot of the social programs will end this October in this country, and people don't realize how bad it's going to be come October 1st. When a majority of the social programs in the country have been defunded. And we're going to see how much pain Trump is really going to inflict on people, especially on red welfare states, the taker states, like Texas, Arkansas, places like that use more federal dollars than they put in, is what should be free in this country, besides humans. But what services and things shouldn't cost anything? What should be a foundation of our society? I'm not talking about, lobster and steak dinners at Ruth Chris or something like that, but basic food should be free. It should never cost. It should be part of the overhead. We grow enough food for the entire world. And we're the wealthiest nation on earth. Nobody should be starving in this country, ever. Free lunches in schools, absolutely mandatory. Weekend meals should be mandatory. There should be no reason why a little kid that's being forced to go to school should ever sit in class and have his stomach rumble. We should be horsewhipped. All of us should be horsewhipped for that. I mean, well, some of us probably enjoy that, but we as a country should be ashamed of ourselves. College education should be free. There should be enough state schools and government-owned schools and government-sponsored schools that should have no cost. Nobody here in this country should ever, if it's a benefit to veterans and it's a value add to joining the military, suffice it to say, college education, universal college education would probably fucking make sense. The same way with healthcare. You shouldn't have to be in a poor family as a kid, or a senior citizen, a veteran, or an active duty military or retired military to receive benefits, or a member of Congress. Knows how they take care of their health care, and they exempt themselves from almost every one of these health care bills. It's one of those things. There's a lot of things that we're such a wealthy country, we should be like an all-inclusive resort. And if you've never been to an all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean or Mexico, you go and you pay one price. And you get everything. The run of the house. You probably could take some bed sheets and some towels if you wanted to. They probably wouldn't care. But you get your food, your drink, the run of the resort. You get, the amenities, the whole 9 yards. When it says all-inclusive, it usually typically means all-inclusive. Or sometimes they call it the American plan. You show up, you don't have to worry about a thing. You leave the wallet in your room safe, and you don't have to tip anybody. In fact, tipping is banned in places like that. They want you not to worry about a thing. You've paid one price. You've paid the price of admission. And I'll tell you, the United States should be that way. There should be housing. Basic housing shouldn't cost anything in this country. Nobody should be making a profit. There shouldn't be billion-dollar companies that own hundreds of thousands of homes and use these homes as like poker chips in a high-stakes game. While we have hundreds of thousands of people in this country that are homeless, including about 25,000 people in Charlotte that are functionally that live on the streets or live in shelters in Charlotte, North Carolina right now, in a city of 800,000 people. That it's a top 20 city that has over 25,000, probably closer to 30,000 people that actually live on the streets. Live on the streets, not functionally homeless like they're couch surfing, but they're literally living on the streets. And it's worse here in LA, and it's worse in the bigger cities. It's the amount of problems that causes. Whereas we could afford to convert old office buildings, strip malls, malls that have been abandoned. There's some cities where malls are completely abandoned, where we could grow food and house people in these malls. We could build little condominiums and just give that to them to where they always have a home. If we live in America, this land of the free and home of the brave, we should have the bravery to take care of our neighbor. And if I had one birthday wish this year, it'd be that we take care of our neighbor. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That would be pretty cool. That would be a fucking kick-ass birthday gift. And we should work towards that. Democrat, Republican, Christian, atheist, whatever. That should be what fuels us every day. That sounds like the American dream. That's the American dream I'd love to see before I get really, really old. And I think about these things as it gets closer to my birthday because I see the inhumanity of our country and I see the cruelty. And I live a very privileged life in a very beautiful bubble in the Hollywood Hills with a very beautiful woman. And I got a lot going for me. But not everybody's so lucky. And for those that are suffering, it's a shame. It should be embarrassing to us. But for some reason, it's not. Because we're not even embarrassed as a nation that we have a kid diddler as a president of the United States that is pillaging our country and making billions per year off the presidency. Maybe next year we'll rethink our priorities and hopefully maybe even start this year. I hope we dare to dream. That's all I have for this week. We will see you next week. Bye, y'all. Bye, boo. Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Two Queers in a Truck. And yeah, it is birthday week for me. But birthday month as well. Yay, Virgos. But I hope you guys are having a great end of the summer. It is coming fall all around the foosball season. Y'all be safe out there and enjoy your ball games and your hooplas. And it's back to school for a lot of kiddos as well. Well, actually, they should all be back in school by now. But anyway, we'll see you next week. Y'all be safe. Thanks for listening to Two Queers in a Truck. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yay.